I heard an interesting comment. It went like this: Weili is the best women's fighter ever. Do you care? And that did make me think, right? Because the do you care makes it mean. It makes it mean spirited, but I also get it. I do get it. That's not a main event fighter. As a matter of fact, she just fought and it wasn't a main event. Like, that's not even debatable. That's not a main event fighter. Boy, she's talented. And she appears to be getting better. She appears to be very driven. I have so many positives to Weili. I've never met her, but I know people that have met her. I know people that train right alongside her and see her in the gym and just talk about, I mean, all the beautiful buzzwords that you could think of for sport. Loyalty to her coaches. By the way, I mean, I know she's been gym hopping a little bit. She was out there at Henry's and now she's at the PI and she came from China. But her two original coaches from China come with her everywhere she goes. And they're always in her corner. And they're always watching and overseeing. So I do think that loyalty gets to be thrown into that. And hard work and dedication. She always shows up and she makes big sacrifices and doesn't have a tremendous social life outside of the gym. She has even put herself in a very tough situation, which is not having a command of the language, but feeling she can get better training in America. So that's where she is. Like, those are big sacrifices. And we give people a lot of credit that do that. So I do want to put praise onto Weili. And to call her the greatest women's fighter ever, I think you could have that argument. I don't know that I would put her there because I think that Rose, and I, of course, think Amanda, but just by example, is she one of them? Yes. And does she still have a very beautiful potential and future in front of her? Yes. She's the best fighter in the world. I don't think she's the best fighter in the bracket right now. I can't see any scenario where she beats Tatiana Suarez. But we see this all the time, right? We see where the best athlete has a hard time even getting the opportunity. And that's a conversation for another day. I'm more discussing the second part of the question, which is, do you care? And I read the comments. I mean, I even read them when we do them about Shevchenko, and you guys are just so convinced that I say bad things about Shevchenko. I have never, per intent, said anything about Shevchenko that I didn't think would help her. I never sat down in this chair with bad intentions or a goal of insulting the bullet ever in my life. But there are some misses. And to discuss those misses for an undercard guy who's getting 10-10 and pushed out the back, I think is rude. I think when you can use a champion, somebody strong like the bullet, who can handle it, as an example, that's more appropriate. I would do the same for Weili. Look, I don't have a problem with people being a miss or not born with an overwhelming charisma or not born with any charisma whatsoever. Like, I don't have any kind of a problem with it. My bigger problem in this sport is paying people for advice that sucks. Sugar Sean cut a whole promo last week on MMA managers. And the reason why you shouldn't have a manager within MMA, I believe he called them scumbags, and if I'm wrong, he called them dirtbags. And I bring that just as a bridge and a tie-in. Somebody advised Weili, who does not speak English, to yell into the microphone, "What's up, Boston?" And that person is an unclever, unneeded idiot. There's something known as cheap heat, and there's an expression known as a cheap pop. And it came from the carny world of professional wrestling. If you go into a town, whatever town you were in, and you will see politicians use this every 4 years, you will see politicians get buried when their travel schedule is so high, they say the wrong town. You're in Vancouver and you say, "What's up, Portland?" Even though you're only 15 miles off, it's a big deal. You need to know where you are. And if you say the name of the town that you were in, you get a cheap pop. It took no creativity, and the guy that came before you could do it, and the guy that comes after you will do it. But if you say the name of the hometown that you're standing in, you're going to get a cheap pop. Who wants it? How does that help? Like, what was the theory behind teaching her to say, "What's up, Boston"? She would have had to practice that. You had to go over it over and over again. She would have forgot it. She's going to be tired. There's a fight going on. She's punched in the head. You're going to have to remind her. How does that help? Like, what goal did you see that you were going to achieve after the fact, once the pay-per-view is already purchased and the tickets are already sold? What did you think you were going to achieve by then making that crowd cheer for themselves? What monetizable dollar did you see when you gave her the plan to say, "What's up, Boston"? Shove it up your ass, Boston. With a confused look on her face like she walks around with anyway. That's funny, and that's interesting, and she would have gotten away with it because we know that you planted her with it in the first place. It's like when Vanderlei Silva used profanity and said that he was going to have sex with Chuck. He meant to say, "I want to fight Chuck," but the F word got confused. That was 20 years ago, and it lives on to this day because he didn't have a command of the English language. He got away with it. Hey, Boston, shove it up your ass is 20 times more interesting. Not even a maybe. What's up, Boston? We're in the middle of Boston. There's 11 fights on the card. 9 interchangeable fights have come before you. 9 interchangeable mediocrities have come before you. And they all said, "What's up, Boston?" Or some variation of that. And I don't have a problem that Weili did it. This is not a main event fighter, but there's a reason you can't put her in a main event. So now you have somebody who got a hold of her who said, "Girl, you got to trust me. What's up, Boston?" That's a cool thing they say in America. They don't even say hello to each other. They say, "What's up?" Then you get the weird guy going, "The sky and the clouds. How are you?" Right? It's one of these things. Somebody thought that was a good line. Train into her. That person's an idiot. That's all.